bow your heads with me? May the meditations of my heart and the words of my mouth be glorifying to you, O Lord. Amen. Amen. It has arrived. The church topic commonly avoided by churchgoers, administrators, and clergy alike. It is stewardship season, and it can no longer be denied. Just look at this week's lectionary. As we hear the message in the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 22, verses 15 through 22, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. We once again hear the familiar gospel narrative and are reminded of our duty to the church. But I would dare to say that Jesus is challenging the Pharisees and us to do more than give the expected 10% temple tithe. As I discussed this week's gospel reading with my father and stewardship the other day, he said to me, "Kate, stewardship is everything." I quickly replied, "Stewardship can't be everything." But what my father was saying to me was not that stewardship was everything, the end-all and be-all, but that stewardship is within everything, within all we are, all we give, and all we do for the betterment of the church, our community, our world. With the risk of sounding redundant or even cliche, what my father was stating was that stewardship is truly our time, talent, and treasures. Stewardship is in the way we serve God and His creation. As my father helped me to understand his bold statement, he told me this story. During the late Pope John Paul II's career, he visited a parish within the state of Iowa, and while he was with them, he thanked them for their stewardship to the land, for this was a parish made up of farmers. The late Pope thanked these farmers because he knew that stewardship was indeed everything. Stewardship was in the farmers' labor and care for the land around them. Stewardship is a chef's care for the food they serve, in a teacher's education of their students, in an enlisted person's dedication to protect their country, in all of our labors and efforts to care for the well-being of our families, friends, and community. As the Pharisees come to Jesus, challenging his integrity and teachings, he turns their words back on them and challenges them further to give to God what is God's, not in relationship to the denarii they possess or the temple tithe they give, but in terms of what is God's. What is God's? Well, everything is God's, of course. This is our challenge too. What is it that we are to give back to God? I can remember as a child learning, as Christians we are to store our treasures in heaven, and wondering how it was I would go about storing my Barbies, their mansion, and convertible in heaven. When it became clear that this would be difficult, well, impossible to do, I came to the conclusion that my Barbies and their collection may not be making it into heaven. When we think about giving everything to God, what is it that we are holding on to? Do you think those things may be keeping you from reaching God? I don't know about you, but I know for me that there are material desires that keep me from fully giving everything to God every day. As my time, talents, and treasures become distorted with my desire and almost obsession with material goods, I find myself feeling more and more disconnected from God. When it is easier for me to fill my time, use my talents, and make my treasures material wealth and goods, I realize I am further distancing myself from God and poisoning my relationship with Him. I begin to look back at my day and think, what a waste. I could be using that time, my talents, those treasures, to honor God and His creation, bringing Him into the center of my life and others. I do not believe that Jesus, in this gospel narrative, is challenging us to give a bigger and better tithe to the church. It has to be about more than that. I believe Jesus is challenging us to examine what we believe is God's and what it is that we are giving to Him, and even more what it is we are not giving to Him. When I realize what I have made as my everything and what I am not giving to God, I can see that separates me from him. It is within my tight grasp of what I have declared as my everything that I risk the ability to strengthen my relationship with God and come closer to his kingdom, both in heaven and on earth. And this grip upon my everything can only be loosened as I begin to give it to God through prayer and petition. As I give in and give up to God what I have declared as my everything, I begin to receive, to gain, what truly is everything. Everything within God. His love, his dedication, and his yearning for me and my life. Now, I'm not saying that this is always what I do, for I am only human and find difficulty every day in loosening my grip on my declared everything. But I work with God, and he works with me. And I can see where everything truly lies. For our treasures are not here on earth. They are in heaven, in God. And that is why God has not allowed my Barbies and their mansion into heaven. For the true treasures are there, and material goods have nothing on these treasures. So as we enter into the sometimes feared and dreaded season of stewardship, let us look towards giving to God what is God's, what we continue to declare as our everything, and so tightly hold on to, so that we may reap the benefits of freedom from earthly goods, and truly gain what God has in store for us in his kingdom here on earth and in heaven. The gifts of love, relationships, and community with God and with our fellow neighbors. I will leave you with these final words. As my father so eloquently reminded me, stewardship is living into the great commandment. Love God with all your heart, all your mind,